Friday! Happy Friday, happy Friday, happy Friday! It is Friday, and it is April 24th. And I am so happy to be here with you. We're going to be doing our compare and contrast. Oh, I see that Larry has already started our lesson today, friends, and I hope you all said hello to him. He is so excited to be here. So we are going to be doing another compare and contrast, and then we're going to be wrapping up our unit because this is the end of our week 3, unit 9 on needs and wants. So we are going to be comparing and contrasting our two stories of needs and wants and Munching Millie. So are you ready, Larry? I'm ready. Are you ready, boys and girls? Well, let's begin. So here we have our needs and wants. And remember, we're comparing our story of needs and wants, our big book, to Munching Millie. So these are the two stories that we are going to be doing. So first, when we compare, we want to think about what is the same about both of these texts. We read about how in needs and wants, how it affects our lives. In Munching Millie, we read about how Millie's needs and wants affected other people's lives. So since we found this same idea in both texts, we can write that in the middle of the column on our chart, which is right here. So we can see here that both texts tell about how needs and wants affect our lives. Now let's go back and think about another similarity that's the same between these two. In our needs and wants, as we go through the story, we see that people work jobs in order to get the things they need. We see this person is building. And with building, he earns money that he can use to buy food and to buy clothing. In Munching Millie, we know that Millie needed to be given jobs in order to keep her from munching on things to get her in trouble. So this is another similarity between these two stories. So on our chart we write down, tells how jobs can help people to get what they want. So again, in this story, it allowed Millie to be able to stay with her family. And here it allows people to be able to buy the things that they need or the things that they want. Now let's think about the contrast, how these two stories are different. To contrast, we need to think about what kind of things in one text is maybe different from what's in another one. In Needs and Wants, this story, it is an informational text because it gives facts and information. But in Munching Millie, this is definitely not an informational text. This is a story, a fictional story, about the goat and the children. So Munching Millie is a fictional story. So that is one way that these two stories are different. So over here on our chart, we have informational text for our needs and wants, and on Munching Millie, we have that it's a fictional story. Now, also we know that because it's an informational text, here we see real photos. At the beginning, we also have a table of contents. And we know that this story is broken into chapters, as we see here, chapter 1. So we have chapters, and then of course at the end, we have conclusions and a glossary and an index, because this story is all about facts. So you will not see any of those features in the story of Munching Millie. So on our chart, we have chapters, table of contents, glossary and index. and we do not see those in Munching Millie. Another difference, take a look at the pictures. Look at these pictures throughout the story. Ask yourself, are these real photos? If your answer is yes, we know that that is correct because it goes with our story. Informational text is not a fictional story. It is real. They are real photos. In Munching Millie, we see illustrations. Throughout this story, each of the pages has illustrations, not real photos, and that goes in line with fiction. So over here on the chart, down at the bottom, we have real photos for our needs and wants, and we have illustrations under Munching Millie. Wow, that's a lot of things for differences. It seems like there's a lot more differences than there are things that are the same. Well, that's because, Larry, these two stories are very different because one of them is real and one is not real. Whenever we have that, we will always have more differences than we will similarities. The last thing is we have compare and contrasting the text structure and problem and solution. So what that means is, if we go back to this story, this is more of a comparing and contrasting. Throughout this informational text, it is talking over and over about needs and wants and the differences between needs and wants and comparing and contrasting needs and wants. But in our story of Munching Millie, this is a story that is all centered around Millie and her problem and how to solve that problem. So that is the last and final difference on our chart. So we are going to take one last look at our chart here, boys and girls. I want you to take a look at it. If you can read it, great. If not, maybe somebody can read it to you. We see in our needs and wants both texts and then Munching Millie on our chart. The ones in the middle are the ones that are the same. So going through, I'm just going to read it one more time. Both texts tell about how needs and wants affect our lives. Both texts tell how jobs can help people to get what they want. The differences, our needs and wants is an informational text with real photos. Munching Millie is a fictional story with illustrations. Our needs and wants is an informational text, so it has chapters, table of contents, glossary and index, and Munching Millie does not. And last, our needs and wants has comparing contrasting of the needs and wants, whereas in Munching Millie, it's just a story and we talk about the problem that Millie has that needs to be solved. So friends, that is the end of our compare and contrast, but not the end of our reading lesson today. It's not the end of our reading lesson? No, it is not. We did our compare and contrast, but now we're going to wrap up the unit. You're going to wrap up the unit? You mean you're going to wrap it up in a bow like a present? No, we're not going to wrap it up in a bow like a present, Larry. Wrapping it up means to conclude or finish our unit. Well, how do you do that? Well, stay with me and I'm going to show you. So now we're going to look at another chart shortly. But first, I want you to, hold on one second. I'm going to go back. So you're looking at me. All right, so what I want to go over with you is I want you to be thinking that over the past 3 weeks, we have read and listened to informational text, stories, and poems about why we make choices between needs and wants. What do you remember about those texts? Think about those stories. Why do we make choices? Remember when we took a look at, this. I'm going to minimize myself. Looking at our story here. Not looking at the right one. Okay. Okay, so our unit was all about making choices. And in our story of Munchie Millie, we know that they had a choice to make. Think about different ideas based on the text that we read even today, and on what you have already know about how we choose between our needs and our wants. So today we're going to continue finishing up our unit by looking more at needs and wants. So we're going to take a look at a chart that I have created here for you. As soon as we get rid of that, and we're going to get rid of this one, we're going to take a look at this one. Why do we make choices? So here are some reasons of why we might make choices. I'm going to just go ahead and read these to you, and I want you to think about these in your life and the kinds of choices that you make each day. There are some things we need, and there are some things that we want. So depending on what those needs and wants are, allows us or helps us to make choices. Remember again, friends, that needs are the things that we must have in order to live. We need those things to survive. But we can live without wants. We do not need wants. Those are extras, kind of like junk food, cake and ice cream. Things like that are fun to have, but we don't want to have those all the time. Next, we can't always afford everything we want. Sometimes we have to pass things up that we want in order to afford the things that we need. Another one is we can earn money to buy things we want or need. Remember the story of Marcus? He earned money by doing jobs around the neighborhood in order to have enough money to buy the gift for his mom. So that is one way that you can get the things you want by earning money. Doing a job is one way to get the money. Like in the classroom, doing a good job with answering questions, you earned play money. You also earned money by doing well on tests. And last, we can trade to get the things we want or need. You can trade? What does that mean when you trade? Well, Larry, it means that you can give somebody something that they want, and then they give you something you want. If they have extra crayons and you need crayons for something, and maybe you've got paper, you can swap. You can give your paper to them, and they give their crayons to you. That's a form of trading that we can share to get the things that we want, or even things that we need sometimes. So, those are some of the things that we talked about in this unit on making choices. Remember, needs, one last time, are the things you need in order to survive, and wants are the fun things. So what are some things that you want, Larry? That's a good question. Well, I know that I want a bicycle, that I've been wanting to learn how to ride a bike. Well, that would be a good want. How do you think you might get that bike? Well, maybe I'll talk to my mom and see if I can do some chores around the house to earn some money, and then I can buy the bike. I think that's an excellent idea. So boys and girls, think about maybe some of the things that you might want and how you might be able to get them. Maybe you can even trade. Maybe somebody has an old bike that they don't want anymore, and maybe you have a toy that you don't want anymore, and you could swap a bike for a toy. You never know. The ideas are endless. And that concludes our compare and contrast and concludes our unit on needs and wants. Have a very happy Friday and have a really nice weekend, boys and girls. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.